All right,
I'm
everybody.
having.
Sorry for the delay. I got kind of a late start. Tonight we're going to talk about lighting SHTF, what you're going to do about it. And I'm going to turn it over to Gil to start it off so I can finish getting mine set up.
Wow, you're going to hit me right off the bat with
That's
my big
right. I'm
list.
giving it to you. You're right.
Unless, Wes, do you want to go first? Do you have some stuff you want to talk about for lighting, or do you want me just to run?
Lighting in SHT.
Emergency lighting.
Emergency lighting. I know everybody's always talking about how cool it'll be if this happens and we can use this and that. If your O light's not going to work, I can read from Wikipedia.
Okay. I came up with a bunch of stuff here, and what I'll do is give us a chance to talk on it. I'm just going to blow through the main topics real quick.
Yep, then we'll talk about it.
And then you can talk about them once I get blown through. I'm going to blow through them really quick here. Number one, candles. We all know about candles, and there's different types, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Oil can be used for lanterns, or it can be used for those like the wick candles type stuff, like in a jar or whatever. Then there is your regular flashlights. With your flashlights or other battery powered lighting, you got lead acid batteries, carbon, zinc, your old ones, alkali rechargeables, nickel cadmium, nickel hydroxide, ion lithium. Gas, as in you got natural gas, propane, or butane to powered lanterns. You have the flashlights that are either the shaker type to have the little magnet in there that goes back and forth, and that's a couple of rechargeable batteries in there, or you have the dynamo ones that you squeeze the thing and it spins a little dynamo in it, or you crank ones. That's another type of flashlight. You have generator powered lights for the gas powered generator or a diesel powered generator, or you can have like a bicycle generator where you're sitting on a little exercise bike with the battery charging up. And then of course there's solar powered lights. All right, so that's the list of lights that I had. Did I miss anything?
That's pretty close. I was going to say portable solar lights, if you're going to be setting up a perimeter around your house or something like that, around your homestead, whatever, make sure that you're getting solar lights like the track lighting for your hunting stuff, so that you can get the pictures. And I was hoping that Dave would come up here because he's really good with this. But get the pictures shot, put them up on trees and stuff, so that as the people are trying to come into your area, you can pick them up, and that way they're not sneaking up like on your house or even on your livestock or anything like that to try to steal it. But it's portable lighting so that you can make sure that you're not getting invaded before you know it.
Yeah, Texan put out there on the side chat there, Crisco with a tall skinny candle in the middle for a 72-hour candle. Actually, I just did a video on that where I put 4 tall skinny candles in there, and I got the big can of Crisco, and it lasts quite a while, longer than just 72 hours. Of course, you're not going to run it solid either, because if it's daylight, you're not going to be burning your candles. So you can make it last a lot longer.
There's so much stuff that you can use for making candles nowadays. Yeah. You could even go out and scavenge in the alleyways of old restaurants and stuff and getting that grease out of their pits. That stuff, as long as you clean it, sift all the garbage out of it and everything. Make sure that you're not getting any of the garbage in there. You could use that real easily.
Yeah.
Something people need to be aware of, though, if they're using candles or oil lamps, is it puts out a smoke that has microparticles in it, which are actually oil. It doesn't efficiently burn the wax or the oil, and you will breathe this stuff. People used to die from it wasn't their job that was killing them, it was the lighting in their homes.
Yeah.
So the vapor being put on.
candles all day long, stop it.
Yeah. The thing is with the oil lamps and stuff, the quality of the oil you're using affects it. One of the probably the best oils is the triple virgin olive oil, because that's that burns with practically no non-burning oil getting off in the vapors if you have the proper wick. That's the thing, you got to have the proper wick as well. If your wick is too small or way too big, it's not going to burn properly. Along with your
is an effective flame from oil or paraffin or wax. A efficient flame is blue. You cannot use blue spectrum light for lighting your house. So for lighting, you explain, which is the yellow, which gives you more visible light. So there's the problem.
Yeah.
We have a whole thing on safety with candles and stuff. It's the only reason I know this stuff.
The other safety thing you got to worry about is it getting knocked over and causing a fire.
It's like like I was saying about the cooking oil, and somebody brought that up in the side chat. Is you really don't need wick for that, you know. You don't need a wick for it to burn.
The cooking oil?
Yeah.
To get it to burn properly, you need some sort of wick. Otherwise, it smokes.
Yeah, it'll smoke. Without a wicket, you can actually see the black. We call them paratroopers or whatever. It'll actually put large globs of soot in the air as it burns. It'll put off light, but it'll choke you out. Yeah,
when I was testing on my video, when I was testing doing the vegetable oil in the lanterns, the old-fashioned lantern I was trying to use it in, the wick was too small for doing the vegetable oil in, and once I mixed it with the regular lamp oil 50/50, it burned better. But what I found out actually works best. I just got the stuff that's coming tomorrow. Is 1/2-inch diameter wicks for like those tiki torches, and supposedly that works better with the vegetable oil. So I'm going to test that out and see how true that is. But
while we're talking, you guys, I want to tell everybody in the side chat, if you're going to have something to input into the conversation and for the panel, make sure you put that in capitals so I can catch it. I'm an old guy. That or a question, either one of those. Put those in caps for us. Go ahead, Joe.
The original lamp oil was olive oil. Back in biblical days, before Christ, back in Moses' day, was olive oil was what they used most of the time for your good quality lamp oil. Yes, they had tallow and other oils from animal products they would use, but that did not burn as bright as the olive oil. You can make wicks out of cotton cord soaked in salt and borax. Yeah. The wicks I have coming, the 1/2-inch wicks that they use in those tiki torches, are fiberglass. So the wick doesn't burn away as fast as the cotton ones do, and because it's the way it's woven and stuff, it draws up. Supposedly we'll find out when I do the test. It supposedly draws up the oils better. Hey, Anthony.
What's up, Gil? How y'all doing?
All right. One of the
that's me.
I'm reading all that good stuff over here inside.
You guys like that, where I can bring up the stuff on the front of it now, and it doesn't cover your faces up? They fixed that.
Okay, Food Forest put something up there. Howie put something up there. The more volatile the oil, the shorter the wick.
Oh, hey, dude.
Yeah, because then you don't want a real long wick, because then it starts burning improperly.
It would probably turn black, right?
You put off some black split. And same thing on certain oils. You don't want to have too short for what you're burning, because then it'll go out.
See, like old man, he sent me a bunch of beeswax, and I haven't done anything with it yet. But my intention is to try to get some video on it, making different candles and stuff, using different stuff to mix it with, to make it last longer.
Of the waxes, your beeswax is burns hotter and cleaner than paraffin,
and lasts longer. Yeah.
Just from experience here, I've used beeswax because I use beeswax to make a lot of my healthcare products. When you cool it down, it's going to shrink and crack. So
it's gonna crack. That's why I was thinking if you add something with it, like and something with an oil base to it.
You really don't want to do that.
Sure yet. I was thinking maybe something like vegetable oil or something to make it soft.
You really don't want to do that, because then that winds up smoking and you lose your bright light. When you're making a candle out of beeswax, you don't just pour it and do the whole thing at once. They take the wicks with a little weight on, and they dip it and let it dry, and they dip it and cool, dip it and cool. That way it builds up in layers, and as it shrinks down on, it stays. And the next dip will fill any cracks before you put thin layers on it, so it doesn't get a big old crack in it.
I've seen where they also roll it. They'll like put it on a sheet, and then once it's to that malleable stage, they'll put the wick in the middle and just kind of roll the thing up into like a cylinder like this.
Yeah,
and it'll be like a stick candle.
That takes a little bit more skill.
Yeah, that's I would say I tried that, and yeah, I'm definitely not good at that the first try. So I'm gonna have to keep trying at that one. But I've done it where I just do the normal pour, because I usually make like a lot of soy-based candles because they're really easy, and they're really easy to give away for gifts around this time of year. Yeah. And soy is no problem. Beeswax shrinks. So just
well, even that. Like when I made that emergency candle in the can in the video, and I had the 5 little candles in it, I poured all the wax around it. The regular paraffin shrunk down as well.
Well, I was thinking about making some fire starters. Let me see if I was thinking about taking some of that beeswax, melting it down. See, I got these popsicle sticks. I eat them anyway. Take them and dip them down in there. Switch it around, pull it out, let it dry. Put it back in there, swish it around, let it dry. Until it builds up on here into like a glob or something.
Yeah. And the problem is because of the unless you put that popsicle stick in a pan of the hot wax where it can soak into it, it's not going to make a good wick.
That's what I was thinking. Soak the stick first, and some really like thinned out stuff, or make it really hot so it's like thin, and then just kind of lay the stick in the side and let it kind of sit there and soak. Yeah. And then take it, and then after the stick is dried, start the dipping process.
Yeah. I can't remember whose video I just saw, and he commented on my videos about the my fire starters. He takes he cuts up small pieces of cedar, and he'll sit there. He'll put it in the pan of hot wax, and just let it sit there and soak it up for a while. And he uses those for fire starters as well. I haven't tried that yet.
Hey, we got Zelfrey Tressler.
Yeah.
I am from Nebraska.
Hey.
He's asking about Nebraska preppers.
Yeah.
The deal with the wicks and stuff and the length and everything, the watchmaker that actually fixed that problem in the early lamps, he invented the little rolly-uppy downy wick
crank
for the old oil lamps. And before then, I mean, you had to set the wick, light it, and hope you had it right, or you had to put it back out, open it up, adjust the wick again. There was electrical lighting. Well, there was attempts at electrical lighting all the way back into the early 1800s. I was really amazed at just exactly how far back electrical lighting goes. Gas lighting was, at the time, the technology was easier. And that's something a lot of people don't realize. You can actually get better light, emergency lighting, out of a little propane canister lamp than just anything else. I mean, it's safer. It's got more sustainable, even light. There's no residue as far as, the soot or whatever. Play-Doh was invented to remove the soot from candles and lamps off of your wall.
Yep.
It wasn't made as a toy. It was how you kept your walls from being black. Once a year, you had to roll Play-Doh over your entire house to get the crap off your walls.
Yeah.
And
now, Anthony, was it you or was it Reed that was talking about hydrogen?
It's probably Reed. He's the hydrogen guy.
Yeah. So I mean, the my in-laws had a camper trailer that had gas lamps, in it that ran off the propane tank. But you can you can still get those replacement ones for it, so you can install a gas system in your house and have it already installed. But like Wes says, your standard Coleman propane lanterns. There's all these other ones, the Ozark ones that Home Depot, Walmart carries and stuff. But there's this guy up in Washington that has his house has a hydrogen generator off of solar panels, and his lighting is hydrogen. Now he has added an odorizer to it, so he knows when there's, he's filling his house full of unburnt gas, but it burns clean. I mean, what's the byproduct of hydrogen? Water.
Yeah. And
in the wintertime, when your house is we got the wood burning stove going and your humidity's dropping to 20% humidity, hey, a hydrogen light source would put water back or moisture back into your air. The let's see, batteries. All right, oil. Sorry, so we covered about the different types of vegetable oil, olive oil, animal fat oils, tallow. What tallows comes from beef. What do they call the rendering from pig? Anybody know?
Lard.
Huh?
Lard.
Lard. Okay, lard. Okay, lard. All right, if you get that stuff pure enough, it doesn't smoke too bad, from my understanding. I haven't had a chance to play with it. Anybody had a chance to work with burning lard?
Yes.
Anthony shaking his head. Yes.
Filter.
Huh?
Make sure when you're going to use something like lard, you actually render it. Like, say if you're going to do like bacon fat or something, make sure you all the crap out of it.
You have to strain it, don't you?
Yeah, you got to strain it a few times and you got to spoon out the hard chunks and all that stuff. Don't just go ahead and stick a wick in your bacon grease because it'll smell and smoke like a pant. So once you have regular lard, it's just like a normal candle. It's a little bit sootier, but not, nothing hardcore.
Does it smell like bacon?
Yes. But okay. If I use lard from bacon grease, yes. But if I use lard that I render down from, the cuttings at the butcher shop, then no.
Okay. Martin Refugee says, save the lard for soap.
Kind of a cool thing. Lard actually has a longer shelf life than vegetable oil.
Yes, it does.
So does tallow.
It's because it's a saturated fat. Saturated fats will always last longer than an unsaturated fat. The main difference is a saturated fat is hard at room temperature and unsaturated is liquid at room temperature. That's the best way that you can remember that. And things like coconut oil, which are like a vegetable but not really vegetables, like fruit, they are saturated fat. And the ones that you find in the store are usually hydrogenated to make it liquid at room temperature. So if you get the real raw coconut, that's when you're going to see it. It's hard and white, and you got to scrape it out with a spoon to use it when you're cooking or whatever. So if you're going to stash those, remember lard, tallow, any animal fat or saturated fat is going to be solid at room temperature.
Cool. Good information.
You can render fat, Lori Jean, bear fat, raccoon fat, armadillo fat, whatever. Just some of it's going to last longer. You can't. The downside, the ones that like goat or whatever, you can render grease from them, but it does not have a good shelf life. Deer, I was playing around with some of the fat off the deer I just took, and there's no way to get that stink out of there. You just say you have to deal with it. So
yeah,
it all depends on what you're willing to put up with for a smell.
yeah.
Bear fat and pig fat, they are almost identical as far as cookability and stuff.
And bear fat, I know the mountain men and stuff used to use it to waterproof their buckskins.
They use bear fat also to lubricate their flintlocks, the inner workings of their muskets. So,
yep.
Bear or beaver fat's pretty good too. Almost all of the animals out there have a way of storing fat. Well, the ones that are really good at staying alive, like the beaver and the bear, hog, seems like all the ones that do more time stealing from everything else seem to do better. Squirrels don't have a lot of fat, so you're not getting a candle out of one of those.
Yeah.
Possums are good. They got a lot of fat.
Yeah. So like the possums, the bears, even the pigs, generally they move slow. They can move fast, but generally they move slow. Squirrels move fast all the time.
And Texican, he's saying muskrat and seal fat would be excellent, I would think.
Yeah. Any of your mammals that spend most of their time in the water have good fat. I mean, whale fat is excellent if you can get it. Whale oil. Oh yeah.
And that's a true deal, because I've been to Florida and to Galveston during the summer, and the mammals in that water, they got plenty of extra fat.
Yeah, manatees.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the people.
I was going to bring that up. If you really thought about SHTF and all hell was breaking loose, I wonder, you have dead people all over the place. I wonder how you would render fat from people, from bodies just like
You don't want to. Unfortunately, human body is one of the most dirtiest things out there, because all the we have more bacteria around us than most animals do.
We nasty.
Yeah, nasty. That's right.
Our fat, according to Tyler Durden. Isn't that right, Tyler?
Well, I'm sorry, but I want to stay away from long pork.
Yeah,
long pork.
You don't want to eat it.
Yeah, people
make diesel or whatever. It's the same process.
Yeah.
Red Life says alligator fat's good for medicines and lighting. He said if you live somewhere where there's gators.
Yeah, Texan whale oil. Not the Japanese and China are the ones that are hunting it right now, but back in the day, the British used to hunt it big time, and the Norwegians, they all used to hunt them up there in the North Sea. I mean, that's all the sailors had. All their clothing and stuff in the sails were treated with whale oil.
Well, what do you think the lighthouses were made out of?
That was whale oil they're burning. Yeah.
The oil lamps in New England and in Great Britain and most of Europe were not from pigs or humans or beef. That was whale oil.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, they're right there on the ocean.
Yeah. Well, even shipping it, they would ship that stuff inland to like Germany and Belgium, the other European countries too. That was big money. Now generators. Everyone's going to tell everyone's saying, "Oh, I got a generator. I'm going to have plenty of it, like short term, unless you have a diesel generator, you have a way of making biodiesel."
I was going to say, unless you'd have a way of getting the fuel for it.
Yeah.
And if anybody does that deal where you do the burning the boards to make more fuel for your generator or stuff, I'm going to slap them. That's the most efficient use of energy and time and fuel there is.
Yeah, the gasifiers.
Geez, I mean, yeah, it works, but so does a volcano with freaking vinegar and baking soda. doesn't mean it's a real volcano.
Yeah. But if you have a way of making biodiesel, more power to you. However, remember, biodiesel is more corrosive than regular diesel. So when they started putting biodiesel in like the Ford Explorers and the Chevy Suburbans, they had all sorts of problems with the injection pumps and the fuel lines from the injection pump to the injectors because it would corrode them out.
Yeah, it's the rubber. Biodiesel and rubber don't mix. You got to change all the lines out.
Not only that was one of the big problems, but even the material the steel they were using, they had to go to stainless steel because it was corroding the steel as well. But now with talking about generators, also if you have a way of producing it from solar energy to produce hydrogen, you can use the hydrogen as your battery, store it up in a tank, but that's going to cost you money, big time to do it. And then you just run your generator off that. But if you're rich out there, you got a couple $1 million. Yeah, I know a couple guys, engineers that'll show you how to do it.
Well, you could go solar, and as long as you had enough solar energy to fire it up.
Yep.
It would work.
Yeah. Solar energy is the probably, once you have it installed, it's going to be the least maintenance option you have. You're not going to have to keep on finding making candles. You're not going to have to your solar panels are good for 20, maybe 30 years, depending on the quality of them. But then after that time, they're going to start degrading themselves.
With your batteries, you got to maintain those because, unless you go, nickel, like a nickel battery, then you're going to be kind of screwed because a regular one that you got in your car, like a lead acid, you got to make sure you maintain that water level. But even then, the lead will wear out. So
yeah. Yeah, I know. Reed at Manifestations of Imagination. I was talking about how to make a battery, from recycled lead.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, I don't like working with lead for obvious reasons. The lead vapor is very nasty for you.
Well, that's why they made it, let's say illegal, but the EPA shut down the last lead factory or whatever. That was in Alabama, 8 years ago or something. So all the lead we get now is shipped in overseas, basically.
Yeah. But one of the things you to do also when you're considering your batteries, you got lead acid, then you got your dry batteries, which is your zinc carbon, your alkali, your nickel cadmium, your nickel oxide hydroxide, and then you have ion lithium. Of all of them, ion lithium has the longest life cycles on it and the greatest energy storage that I know of. You know anything else, Anthony?
That's the best one that I would think of for a battery. They had, I remember I was reading something where the Persians, however many thousand years ago, would make a 2-volt battery out of vinegar. So if you make a very light with today's LED technology, that might be something we could potentially tap into. But
the other thing too is talk along that lines. Back in junior high, we had to do a science experiment making electricity running a little flashlight bulb off of a potato.
Yeah.
I'm in Idaho. I got lots of potatoes.
Well, lemons also.
Yeah.
Lemons will, anything citrus basically will give you that a little bit of voltage you need. But this is like finite stuff we're talking about here.
Yeah.
I think you'd be better off with
I made power out of my potatoes in science class too. But that'd take an awful lot of potatoes to run anything.
I think the one thing we should really think about is if you can find ways to use or basically harness power that's always moving. So, if you have a creek or something, if you are in an area that gets wind all the time, that way you don't have to worry about storing it in a battery and you can just use it directly from the source. So we don't have to worry about maintaining that part.
everybody that's a prepper, and one way or the other, it all comes back down to solar. And if you listen to everybody talk, they're all going to be doing all these different little things. They've all got their minds made up. They're going to go out and they're going to scrounge up all this stuff. Well, you figure about all those preppers doing that. How long is it going to last till all that stuff's gone? So you have to figure somewhere outside the box. Solar or wind power, or like you said, hydro. That would all be good, but you're going to have to do it for just right now, not for the future of the batteries and stuff, because I think that those will all be gone.
Yeah. Well, I like Anthony saying about the hydro. With the hydroelectric power, there's how many non-functional cars are there going to be out there that have good alternators on there that if you have enough water power, you can be able to make 12 volts?
I would use
starters. Reverse.
Well, I wouldn't even do that. I would use I would go to your local gyms and get your treadmill motors, because those are going to be they're going to give you enough voltage at lower RPMs. Since I work on cars, I know that most of your car alternators are high efficiency these days. So you're still going to have to get 2,500, 3,000 RPMs just to get that 12 volt. It's got to go through a rectifier. So in order to avoid all that, because it's DC to AC, all that crap, back to DC, just get a DC motor. That way you can run DC lights. You're good.
Well, I used to work at a factory that made treadmills. So I know they got like mini alternators in there inside the frame. Those would be perfect, I would think.
That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, get those.
Yeah. That's good for long term. But emergency, when things first go down, your flashlights and stuff are going to be your best. Is what you're going to be using for the first little bit till you get everything else set up, unless you got the money to set stuff up now. Right now, stuff I use all the time, flashlight wise, I got these little the ones from Harbor Freight. I get those
right over there.
Yeah, I get these for free about every month. I'll pick up 2 or 3 of them when they send out the coupon. When I'm getting like a tarp or something. It's got a magnet on the back here. It's got the hook to hang it by. It's got lights shining this way, and it's got a light shining down out of the bottom. And this,
don't you dare say "oh light" or don't you dare say "oh light" or someone's going to get smacked.
No, I don't. I've looked at those and I go, no, I'm going to stay with something like this. Now, something else I have, that's LED. This is a fluorescent one that goes with my Craftsman 19.2 drills and stuff. Same battery pack on it. This pops off and I charge my battery up, but that's fluorescent.
That's probably a lithium battery too, huh?
Yep. But my big one is, turn this on over here. I have the Kodiak solar generator. This is an LED floodlight.
And that runs off a battery as well.
And right now, it's plugged into my battery pack. My Kodiak. I can run I have a CPAP I have to use. I've gone camping with my Kodiak for 2 weeks at Scout Camp without having to charge it. And all I use it for is just my CPAP overnight. When I had another parent going up that had a CPAP as well, I took one of my 100 watt panels. It was fully charged all the time with both of us on it. So, it's options you have, and you got to think about what's best for you, what you can support, what you can afford. That's what you got to think about in your planning.
Oh, absolutely. And it's one of those things where something as simple as an Eneloop battery system with a was it Ansman charger, if you can get you one of those, I mean, it's Christmas time or whatever. I mean, I'm sure they're going to be on sale somewhere. Pick you up one of those and just recharge your AA's, AAA's, and D batteries. That way you can not have to worry about buying batteries for whatever you got. And just there you go, perfect.
That's what I have in my mouse. That's what we use in our Wii system. Is the inner loop, because charge, boom, done.
They work great, and what is it like? I don't know how many charges they're rated for, but there's like 10,000 or something, and
Yeah,
once
it's
they
ridiculous.
get 60%, yeah, it's like 60% once they get to that, and then you still got a charge. It's not going to be the best, but it's still going to be a charge.
Yeah, it's gonna not be not gonna provide you enough power as long. But hey,
Yeah.
you got a bunch of those batteries. You just keep changing them out.
LED lights, they're just little bitty things, but they emit so much light that you could hook some of that stuff up to your solar system that you have set up, and they'll hardly drag anything off your system, and at the same time light up your whole house, Those are the kinds of things you need to think about. It's how you're going to keep from drawing a lot of energy.
And all right, you look at trailers and trucks and stuff, semis and stuff. They've had those pop in and out incandescent lights for years, and now they have them in LEDs, and they're a lot brighter, and they're 12 volt. My solar panel, it's 12 volt. I can plug several of those on there using the white backup lights, and I got white light in my house.
The thing I like about 12 volt coming from the car side is it's basically a power and a ground. I mean, especially if you hook it up in parallel. I mean, you can light up so many on just one battery through one panel. And I mean, I know he's not on here anymore, but Lewis over at Mosaic Master had a whole 12 volt set up inside just for regular lights, running light, that he didn't have to worry about paying for. So something as simple as having a DC solar system just for that, I mean, why not? The only main problem I would have with anything DC wise is, you will have a little bit more of a fire hazard, technically, quote unquote, but 12 volts is nothing. So you start stepping up, of course, when you're going to have an issue.
Start collecting them and putting them up at your bug out location, have them mounted of them.
Yeah. Go ahead and get your bug out location or your retreat or your vacation cabin you're planning to go to anyways. Get that set up already. But remember, when you're doing 12 volt versus 120 volt, you need to step up the wire size basically at least twice what normal. So instead of using 14 gauge or 16 gauge, you want to use, instead of 16, you want to use 12. Instead of 12, you'd want to use 8 for any significant amount of electricity you're going to be running through it on 12 volt. That way you avoid it heating up, you avoid it, any fire hazard, because the wires all stay cool then.
Yeah, you have to, really pay attention, especially when it comes down to 12 volt and 120. The main difference is you got to push amperage. So that's why they do higher voltage, so they don't have to worry about as much amperage versus low voltage, higher amperage. So obviously amps are what's going to kill people. So you have to pay attention to how much you're going to be messing with and shielding and all that fun stuff. So obviously, if you're going to jump in any kind of system like that, just kind of know what you're talking about and watch people like Reed, things like that. They really kind of have an idea of how to design a system. Because, I mean, he's an electrical engineer. Why not, right? So
yeah, exactly.
I tried to get him to come tonight, but he said he was busy.
Yeah, he's working. He was stuck at work.
He works late on Mondays.
Yeah. Reed has some really good videos out there on 12 volt electrical systems. If anybody's in the side chat here doesn't know Reed, that's Manifestations of Imagination. He's got some really cool stuff there. I usually when he really gets technical, I got to watch his stuff twice.
Yeah, me too. Me too. He because a lot of things he just knows in passing is like, whoa, hold on a second, I gotta figure out what the hell you just talked about.
Yeah, say that again in English.
Yeah,
I wind it back. He starts talking, and then he gets to the other end. It's like, what did I miss? So I start going backwards so I can catch where he started at.
He'll do a whole thing about voltage drop, and it's like, okay, I get voltage drop, but what are you talking about?
Yeah. Now, one of the things I wanted to touch on tonight for you guys, types of bulbs / lamps. We call them bulbs, the ones you put in your house, but its technical term is actually a lamp. You have incandescent. Everybody knows what incandescent is. You have fluorescent. You have halogen, which is actually the good one is quartz halogen, and you have LED. Now your incandescent, draws some juice, and it it's what we've had forever. Produces heat. Fluorescent, less heat, less juice draw. Halogen, oh crud, just the opposite. It produces heat and it sucks the juice. LED, no heat, no very little juice, and then you have something which most people don't know about. Out at the when you have like the car dealership had a big sale and they got the big spotlights going on. Those are called carbon arc lamps. Now you want to talk about being able to fry heat on a lens. Frying an egg on the lens because of the heat. It's just, those things. It's basically like an arc welder. It's called a carbon arc.
Like an HID bulb? Is it like on a grander scale or what?
Well, actually, you got two rods, and it goes, and it just arcs, and they get adjusted, and and you use carbon rods, so it doesn't just
night, Howie.
Hey, night.
And just for the record, for those, an HID is what you find in a lot of those upscale, like Lexuses and Porsches and whatever headlights. It's high intensity discharge. All it is an argon gas or a xenon gas that gets excited by electricity. That's what gives you that bright 8,000 watt beam. So just for those who don't know.
Yeah.
Our swamp says a jar with fireflies in it.
It only works every so often.
Wake up.
Every time I used to catch them, they always stopped whenever I'd put the lid on. It's like, okay.
I remember catching those when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Back there at the south where they grow them.
Yeah, everywhere.
Now there's some of the right now all the ones I can find at a inexpensive price are cheaply made. Those are those shaker flashlights. They got like two little rechargeable either NiCad or nickel oxide batteries in them, little flat batteries, and they're rechargeable. And you shake it for a minute or so, it charges those up, and you have a little flashlight with an LED light in it that really isn't that bright. You want to get a good one, you got to spend some big bucks to get a good one. But then it's good. It works. You shake it up, or it has a good light on it. It has a bigger, like the cheap ones have like a little magnet thing about this big that has a little rod that goes through it, and as you shake it, the other ones have a big old one, so it really charges up and gives you a bunch charge. Your crank ones that you get, just sit there, you crank, you wind it up. Those work two different ways. Some of them only provide light where you're cranking it, or he has a squeeze where you squeeze it and it drives the dynamo in it. Generally, like the dynamo ones, the ones I had when I was a kid, that was my dad's. So long as you're squeezing it, gives you power. You let go, it stops. Doesn't have a capacitor in it. Doesn't have a battery in it. There are some that have capacitors in there. That basically it charges up the capacitor and it discharges like a battery, but it doesn't hold the charge very long. It gives you maybe a minute worth of light before you got to charge it up again.
You have some of those when it's SHTF.
I got two of the shaker ones left, but they just they don't last. They die.
Yeah, they die.
I mean, not only do the batteries die, but you start shaking, all of a sudden it just comes apart in your hands because they're, cheaply made from across the ocean.
Felswork had a good point there. Is if it's SHTF, we should practice being in the dark and only use the light when we absolutely need to.
That's the thing. Like, how many of you during the daytime have your curtains pulled and have lights on in the house?
I don't.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of city people, because they want their privacy, they close the curtains so the neighbors can't see in,
And then
and
they
they're used
turn the
to
light on, yeah.
turn the light on, where they can adjust the light the way they want it. Instant gratification.
Yeah, that I don't. You got to understand. The reason why. Let's just face it. We never had even oil lamps or kerosene lamps until like the 1870s, basically 1860s. We were just rising and going to sleep whenever the sun would rise and go down. That's just kind of what we are as a circadian rhythm, that kind of thing. The reason why we started doing artificial light was so we could get more work done. Take that as you will. If you're waking up at the butt crack of dawn, 6 a.m. in some places, especially whenever it's the summertime, and you're staying up all day, you really won't need any light because you'll be tired. You'll be ready to go to bed.
Yep, exactly right there. Yep.
And I saw it put in the winter a lot.
Because you're going to be out trying to start all over again. So you're going to be getting up early in the morning, working your butts off, and get home. By the time you eat your dinner, you're going to be saying, "Oh, I think I just hit the rack."
Yeah, and the a lot of homes in. I'm not sure when they started actually putting in fireplaces, but that provided light after dark for a lot of homes and stuff. I know the Vikings used to have their big halls. They had the big halls with the big fire in the middle and the open ceiling up at the top there for the smoke and to rise out of. But that was their light source at night when they were up late partying and doing whatever Vikings do. But like I said, the back in the 2,000 years ago, the only light source they had were those little like Aladdin type lamps that had the little wick in the end. And that was your light, just enough to keep you from stubbing your toes. You went outside to talk to Mother Nature.
Well, one of the things I wanted to circle back on real quick was the incandescent bulbs we were talking about. Aren't those illegal now? Like they got phased out by like 2014, so you can't find them anymore.
I think they did, yeah. Because it was like they admitted some sort of gas when it was
like a federal mandate or whatever that like Congress signed that like after 2014 you could not find them anymore. Because I know I've been trying to find incandescents and I can't find them for crap. But I mean, you can find them in the decorator bulbs, but for your standard, regular bulb, you can't find them anymore.
You can find the 40 watts for your refrigerator and freezer. Still, the appliance, the highest wattage I've found those is 40 watts. But anything of your standard light bulb type, ceiling light bulb type, most of those went to fluorescent, and now they're going to LED. But there are some places around, if you can hunt and find them, you can still find the 60s and the 75s. I can actually find one place. I found the larger base bulbs in 200 watt incandescent still.
I just remember watching an episode of Last Man Standing where it was like they were trying to do a drug deal because they had to find some incandescent bulbs and they couldn't find them. So it's like, hey, you know where I can find some incandescents? Yeah, I know a guy, but you got to meet him out in the alley. That kind of thing.
Yeah, it was back at the hardware store.
Yeah, you got it.
I see Corsair made it. Hello, Steve.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he's been here for a while. Wes, you put in there the LED bulbs for your house get hot. The cheap ones do. The good ones, are better built and stuff. They don't get as hot. They have better wiring in them and stuff. They're not going all cheap on it.
When I was talking about those LEDs, I was talking about those little ones. Like if you were just going to be starting all over again, you'd be wanting to put in small LED lights because you're not going to have a big 2-story house or anything to start with. You're only going to have to be like a cabin or something like that.
Hey, Will, can you put up Nomadic Rat Pack's comment where he bought the case of bulbs?
Or he bought the case of bulbs?
Yeah. It just jumped up to the top of the chat stream, or it moved up there a bit.
Is it that one?
No. It's after that. Down about 4 comments from that, right after Texan dollar store comment. Yeah. There's the benefit of some incandescence. They provide a little extra heat.
Yeah, that's what I was using to heat up my guest house, so I don't have to worry about putting any kind of heat in there whenever the light went out. But that burned out, and now I gotta figure out some way to put some heat onto it whenever it's 20 degrees outside.
Now, in our kitchen, we took out the fluorescent, the 4-bulb fluorescent fixture that was in our kitchen, and we put in 2 long decorative track lights that had these little bulbs about that big around, kind of a funnel shape, and had 2 pins on the that lock in. It came with ones that were halogen. Those puppies put out heat, and they were 50-watt bulbs each. And we've been changing them out to go with the LEDs, but it's like, some of those decorative halogen bulbs put out a lot of heat and some light. If you have the power, if you have power from hydroelectric, whatever, and you're not having to scrimp on your power, that's another heat source for you in the wintertime.
Absolutely. Get those shop lights, those drop shop lights, those big ones for like lighting up whatever in your garage. Those things will put out some freaking heat. And Reed showed up, so we can say hey to Reed and ask him all kinds of cool solar questions now.
Reed is here. Come on up, Reed. So I have a 6-foot LED strip light with a battery pack 3 AA I use under my tarp with my hammock. That's cool. That was Bama Backwoodsman. Oh, Reed's still at work. He's just listening in from work.
Or so he says anyway.
He's testing me to see if I know what I'm talking about.
He's just checking on us. Told him I wanted him over here tonight because this is his forte.
Now, something else to consider on a side note here. Sorry, I'm going to diverge a little bit, but if you have whatever power source, if you have wind or water where you have enough electricity, something else you consider getting that is electrical, that's not lighting, but is one of those little electric hot water heaters, like one of those point ones. If you have the power going now,
they take a lot of power.
That's one of those like those on-demand ones on the sink or whatever.
Just think though, you can use your electric water heater if you have solar or you have like a wind power or whatever, and that can be your variable source to take up all the excess. So if you don't have batteries, and you want to use the power that instead of having it recirculating through the system, you just put it to your hot water source because it's always going to take power. So that way you can always have some form of hot water, number one. Number two, the power that you're not using from your, say, solar panel or your wind system, you can use that as a power sink.
Right. That sounds very good.
And it's a morale booster, so absolutely. Why would you not want to have hot water? Make everybody happy.
Especially Mama when she wants to take a shower.
Yeah, that's right. Something from my deployments, one thing that it was like the make or break was having a even warm shower. Not having what's called a Houdini shower where you get like a minute of really hot water and then a minute of like super cold water. So like everything's sucked back inside. So
jump in, lather up, get out, jump back in, rinse off.
Take those baby showers.
That kind of reminds me of going camping. We had those 5-gallon bags, solar. You'd hang it up there for half the day for it to get warm enough that you go take a shower.
Oh, one thing I wanted to add was I think it was Steve that just brought it up. My grandfather was actually able to grow citrus a citrus tree, however many years ago, because he died 6 years ago, doesn't matter. But he was able to grow a citrus tree in South Carolina. The way he was able to do it is he took those Christmas lights, the halogen ones, or not the halogen, but the incandescent ones, and he would just wrap it around the trunk, and the heat generated from those lights would keep the tree alive during frost nights. So
Yeah.
I think when we're talking about the heat of those bulbs, that's a perfect way to do it if you want to be able to try to grow something like that.
Yeah, we
That heat tape, that old heat tape stuff you used to be able to buy. You just wrap your pipes up with it and then just plug it in. That might work. So you could grow something like that out on the East Coast.
that pipe wrap stuff though it has a sensor on it to be against a metal pipe, so it can tell the temperature of the metal pipe. That way, it only comes on when the pipe gets so cold. But the lights, we've been using the mini lights, string of lights around our lemons, our oranges, our tangerines and stuff. We've every year, and my wife even puts it out on her jade plant on the north side of the house. And she'll get a sheet and put a sheet suspended over it. Put some sticks in the ground, put a sheet over it, and on the jade plant and on the trees, the citrus trees, we'll just throw it over the trees, and it traps enough heat from those lights and stuff. And unless we have a super freeze, it protects them from dying back. And those trees are huge now.
Yeah, Reed had a really good point about my hot water heater taking all the excess energy. You want to make sure that you're not diverting it all there, because you don't want the thing to blow up whenever it boils.
Rocket.
Make sure I put that there to say that I acknowledge that absolutely, because I don't want people blowing up their garage or whatever their hot water heater is, because the thing.
Well, if the thermostat's working, it'll turn itself off.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying my idea of having the power diverted there just so you're constantly not,
right,
because you can't store power. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Have multiple.
Then you can also get going back up here. If I find it again, Reed put out a thing talking about his little mini. At 829, he said, "I have a hot water tank with a second element that can be diverted and loaded as used, but you need to another so you don't boil." And the one before that, he talks about he has a water electric water system at his house that runs on little small one, two things on it. It's a great video. Guys, I can't explain. Just go back and look at Reed's video on his the unlimited water thing he has.
The water video he had. I remember that video. It was recent. Not long ago.
He was saying that you can have a small hot water tank on solar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to get 30-minute showers out of it, but something as simple as a Navy shower, 5-minute shower, he says possible. So by all means.
Yeah. And here.
Also depends on how cold the water is. If you're using 35-degree water coming out the ground, it's going to take a lot more juice to try to heat up.
Yeah, Reed's video is called "Off-Grid Endless Hot Water." Reed's Crazy Plumbing.
Yeah.
Look at there, Reed. You don't even have to be here, and you're still getting playback.
Oh, there you go. He said he can get 20-minute showers from it. Perfect.
Yeah. That'll still tick off my youngest son. He likes to take 45-minute showers.
Yeah, well, when you get that age, you start taking them long showers, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It starts feeling better.
Actually, he has fallen asleep in the shower. Yeah, he's 20 years old, but we've heard him fall asleep. We've heard him slip and fall and get back up.
Yeah, my son gets in there and it takes him forever to get out. I asked him one day if he was jacking off in there.
All right. So back to some power here and lighting and stuff. If you have kids, preteens, early teens, they got a bicycle. Bring the bicycle in the house. Block it up, put a couple of little generator things that flip against the wheels or rub against the wheel to provide the headlight on it. Tell them to pedal and make them earn their light in the house.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Old bicycles used to have those on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't need base. Just need a. You can also use, like I said, go raid your gyms. Go get your electric bikes out of there and just run the generator from those things because it's designed that way.
That's right, Tyler.
That's funny.
Oh.
But yeah, when it comes down to it, we really got to think about the basics here. If we're going to be working from sun up to sundown, how much work are you really going to be doing when it's dark outside? I mean, I get it during the wintertime, whenever, especially if you're in the far, northern latitudes, you really do have a lot of darkness. Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, I got a lot of darkness right now. I mean, the sun goes down at 5:30 here, which is ridiculous. But aside from wintertime, summertime, especially if you're planting a lot of stuff, you're not going to need any kind of lighting. You're going to go to sleep. If you
Night, Lori.
However, you will need to make sure you have some sort of auxiliary lighting for outside for whenever you got to go investigate that weird sound.
Come on up, Reed. If you want to come in, come on up. He says he's home.
Yeah, if you got to go investigate that weird sound coming from the chicken coop at nighttime, I don't care what, whatever, having a nice headlamp will pay off.
That's what I like about this thing here. When the batteries they have in them when I buy them from Home Depot or get them free from Home Depot, Harbor Freight, when they go dead, I replace them with those inner loop rechargeable batteries.
Oh, yeah.
And that way I just recharge it. I have use a little solar charger and just recharge the batteries, and these things last forever.
So that's why if you can get the inner loops.
I see you.
Hey, there we go.
Hey, there's that guy. I know you. You were getting played back without even being up here. What's with that?
Yeah. So I sent him over to look at a couple of your videos.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, those. I guess we're just talking about lighting. I take it.
Yeah.
And we kind of diverged a little bit there,
That's
but yeah.
why I was trying to get you up here earlier, but I understand you got to work.
Well, we kind of pranced around the solar topic because we were waiting for you to come here.
We were waiting for the expert.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, my mind is usually get the most efficient lights you can for solar because it means you can make a smaller solar array.
Exactly. 12 volt, right?
Oh, it can be anything. I mean, you can buy the LEDs at Walmart and stuff like that.
That's what I was thinking. The small
Just
LEDs
per watt.
Because the small LEDs will put off a lot of light.
Yeah, LEDs work fine. I mean, when it first got started, I used those compact fluorescents for a long time until LEDs came down in price and thing.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like this thing here. This is an LED floodlight. It's 38 watts. That's bright.
Put it in your face. I want to see you look at it.
And that's running on my Kodiak. Generally you won't need that much light.
Now it's funny there. If you want to, there's something interesting out there. Guys know the Coleman lamps, those ones with the little mantles and stuff that you light up, and that they glow real bright. Well, there's actually an oil lamp company called Aladdin Lamps that uses mantles in their oil lamps, and so a little oil lamp can produce real bright white light. It's pretty neat.
I've heard of Aladdin, but are you telling me they have those little globe things on them?
Yeah, they're pretty neat oil lamps. They're expensive though. They're like $120, $150.
Yeah, it's a little pricey.
Yeah, but they do make wonderful bright light. I've been planning to see about making my own version of them with those Coleman mantles and stuff, or something that uses alcohol as a fuel. Been playing around with it.
Okay.
Yes. We'll get him to show us how to do everything.
All right. On Amazon, not sure I get the focus here. That's the Aladdin mantle. The mantle is $15 basically. I'm not sure if they have. They got all the oil and stuff. I don't see the actual Aladdin lamp. So they sell the parts, but not the lamp itself on Amazon. So you got to go to the company to get it.
There's the genie still got it.
Well, it's www.aladdin ALADDIN-US.com, and you can find them there.
And let me go do that again. That was www.
ALADDIN-US.com.
.us.
No, dash US.
Dash, not dot. All right, dash. As in slash?
No, dash.
Hyphen.
Like the minus sign?
Yeah, hyphen. US.com.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. First W didn't take. Okay, let's see what that comes up with here. Yep. Pops up. So this is what their homepage looks like.
Sweet. It wasn't one of those weird, like, now I got you, like whitehouse.com used to be back in the day.
No. Hang on a second here.
That looks similar to the regular Coleman light, doesn't it?
And
That must run off of just one filament.
Yeah,
I think they're one, but they're equivalent to around a 40 to 60 watt light bulb. Stuff. They're pretty bright.
So they got different styles. They got wall mounted ones and ceiling mounted ones. They got a bunch of cool accessories there. Cool. I'm going to save that. Boom. Thank you, Reed.
I was trying to think back when I used to go camping with my dad. He had a cabin, and he used to have lights mounted onto the wall. I think he called them Aladdins, but they had just the one filament on them, but they weren't encased in glass. He could just tie them on there and flame it on. And he always told us kids not to get close to them. He said if they're really hot, but when they're cool off, he said don't touch them. He said you'll mess it up. And I didn't bring enough filters. I don't think they were encased.
Once those mantles burn, they become super fragile.
Yeah,
super fragile.
Just like the regular Coleman lanterns do for either the white gas or the propane.
Funny fact, the old mantles were made out of thorium. And
what's thorium?
Thorium is another radioactive element, kind of like uranium.
Yeah.
Radium? Are we going to try to be like, what's the name?
Tony?
Madame Curie with radium. All of a sudden, we're all going to end up walking around glowing.
Well, shoot, you do any stuff like what Madame Curie used to do, you'd be labeled a terrorist and thrown away without a key.
Yeah.
You're right.
I mean, you actually do a bunch of the stuff that people did in the past. They would call you a terrorist and throw you away the key. It's like back in Chicago, a funny story for you guys. The water that come out of the taps was so nasty and filled with fish guts and all this other junk. They called it chowder. I mean, people took baths in floating debris in their water all the time. And so this guy figured out that if you disinfected with the water with chlorine, that it would, kill off all the bacteria and stuff and people wouldn't get sick. So instead of, getting approval and all that stuff to do that, just did it.
You got to do things for the betterment of humanity, right?
Did he get locked up?
No, he didn't. Although he did go to court and people had a lot of questions for him. How come you didn't ask and all this stuff? And actually, one of the other funny things about Chicago was it's a really flat town. I mean, it was on a really, really flat town area where it was built. And it was one of the first U.S. cities to get a full-on sewage system to manage the sewer and all that. But since it was so flat, they didn't have the, angles to do it with. So they decided, you know what? Let's just jack up city blocks. So they got these railroad cars on and off and got a whole bunch of them. And they would raise whole blocks up high enough to retrofit the sewers under them. And the funny thing is, they would evacuate the buildings. The writings at the time show people talking about sitting up there doing everything as they watched everything raise from where they're inside. That's why I say we take the safety labels off of everything. We'll get rid of that stupid problem quick.
Yeah, you're right.
Other forms of natural gas that we can make, methane, basically.
You can make a methane biogenerator fairly easily. Here's a good resource for you guys. There's a magazine called Home Power. They no longer exist, but the company decided to make a PDF archive of everything they ever put out online, and it's at homepower.com, I believe. But they have, in one of the magazines, they have instructions on how to make a biogenerator. And effectively, it's, you put poop in it, it makes methane, and you can run, natural gas appliances like stoves. Some of them make enough methane that you can run, furnaces and stuff like that. If you get pigs, livestock, and all that, you can make a fair amount of methane. They also have instructions on biodiesel creation and a whole bunch of stuff like that. It's a good resource to download a PDF.
All right, here it is.
Yep.
Yeah, and it is homepower.com. Yeah, so it's was up for 31-year history. So
yeah, I subscribed in the early 90s.
Yeah, that was 87 to 2018.
Yeah,
I've seen dairy farms with the where they basically push all the muck and the poop from the cattle, and they harness the methane production, and that's how they power the lights in the dairy in the where they milk.
Very, very possible. Now, obviously, the actual methane biogenerator is not that hard. It's a structure you can make out of concrete and stuff, and then you've got a high point, and then you've got plumbing, basically a nipple going in there, and it catches it there, so all the gas goes up top because methane's much lighter than air and everything else. And so then you can just have a gas system. You'll need some regulators and stuff because most of the gas pressure we need is I think 11 inches water column. So it's like 0.9 something psi or something. But yeah, regulate it out and you can run stuff correctly. Now, if you don't regulate it out and you try to run your appliances, they probably aren't going to run right. I could see things going very bad that way, so I would definitely want a regulator.
I saw a forum, a special on TV where one guy had a forum and he used all of his cow manure. Like Anthony said, he harnessed it and he used it to power all of his farm. I can't remember how he did it, but he pushed it all in to a heap, and he had this one building that did all the processing. And it went into this other building where they made it into electricity and stuff. So I can't remember where I saw that, what channel that was on, but it was on maybe History. I'm not sure, but I saw it on TV. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, my uncle runs a dairy farm in Pennsylvania, and that's what he does for supplementary lighting. Doesn't do it like on the grand scale, but cause he's got to push all the stuff off the side to compost anyway, and he just harnesses the gas. That's how I remember it.
So if SHTF ever happened, maybe now would be the time to learn how to do that.
Now's the time to learn how to do anything you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Now's the time to experiment with everything.
Yeah, while you have the calories, the tinker.
Well, plus also the mistakes aren't fatal right now, which is very much the point. Once we get into the bad side, a lot of mistakes we make and put resources in the wrong direction, they can easily get us killed. And that's what we got to fight with. So now's the time to make all the mistakes you want. You can still call 911 and get the people to come pick you up.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like when the big event, whatever it turns out to be, and if we classify it into the sudden event, like you suddenly wake up, and the grid's down, everything doesn't work and all that, or, those sudden events, everyone sort of knows, we all know everything has changed suddenly. Well, most of us that are turned on, and you realize, wow, I got a ton of stuff to start doing right now. One of the first first things to do in my list of things to always do is to start knocking on houses and getting people informed, because there's always a calm. You have what I call the calm and quiet before all hell breaks loose.
Calm before the storm. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, well, people are just like, oh, people are expecting the government to come get you. They expect help on the way and all that stuff. Before they realize that's not happening, you have time to make allies. You have time to say, hey, I've got more stuff for you. I've got food here. You can start getting people on board with you. And if they see someone that's got a plan, has a way forward for them, and they realize help's not coming, there's a lot of people that may sign up and say, hey, I'll help out. What can I do?
Yeah. What do you want me to do? Yep. That's a good plan.
That's one of the first things on my list to do is to go start pestering people.
Like you say, most people think, well, this is only going to work for about 2 or 3 hours. Everything will turn back on. Then after 2 or 3 hours, they're trying to get on the phone and trying to get answers, and everybody's telling them they don't know what the answer is.
Well, like if they can't get on the phone, people will tolerate lack of communication for a little while. The problem is someone's going to start a rumor. Who knows who? And it'll spread like wildfire.
Oh.
Panic just goes quick. In any disaster we've always seen, once that panic breaks out, that's when the chaos starts.
Yep, exactly.
It's like I'm going to do a quote from a movie here from the original Men in Black. A person is smart. People are dumb.
Yep.
They're panicky, yeah. So they're completely irrational.
And that's, like the other thing is like, one of the other ones is like, you could say you're outside and stuff like that, and you see suddenly, these streaks across the sky and they come down real fast and then mushroom clouds come up. Nuclear wars just hit. Those are pretty much what I call an instant panic situation. You've got almost zero calm before the storm.
Yeah.
I mean, because people are going to pretty obviously know what the heck just happened, and they're like, "Oh crap," And one of the things that's real bad about the U.S. compared to like Russia actually is the U.S. doesn't do civil defense drills. I mean, FEMA's stretched far enough as they can. They try to do like those CERT trainings for communities. They do those other things and all that, but FEMA has nowhere near enough money to do like the big drills like we really should if we're really serious about dealing with something like that.
Yeah, well, back in the 60s, they even dealt with it back then, but they don't anymore.
Yeah, the 60s wasn't a real big plan. I mean, we never saw like a full-on mobilization of like half of our population to go into shelters and do stuff like that. We just don't do that sort of thing. And some of the things, that's why, in my own opinion, after being in Russia quite a bit, I've often thought that if it came down to a nuclear war between the U.S. and Russia, I'm pretty certain Russia's going to come out on top. For a couple of reasons, is they do a lot of civil defense drills. Secondly, Russians are encouraged to have these summer homes, which are literally farms, and they give land grants for people to get these and stuff like that. And they set up trains and all this stuff to get people out of like Moscow to go to their farms and all that stuff, so they're out there all the time. Well, if Russia knows things incoming, they can get people on those trains and get them out of the major targets fast. Our sort of evacuation plans for our big cities are, grim. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Good luck.
The main thing we're going to have to rely on, Reed, is the country boys. Country boys will survive.
Like, the funny thing is, you talk to people that get in the literacy side, so I'll get up on a total rant on this one, is they often think, oh, the government's going to know all this stuff's going on, and they're going to just leave us all to rot and die. They're preparing for all that. not. It's such baloney on that. Is so. What happens when like a nuclear weapon goes off? I mean, a nuclear missile starts a launch. What it is the satellites up there, the Air Force has watching the entire world and all that. They're looking for an IR signature. Rockets burn at a very high temperature and they're very bright. So when those things go off, that's how we detect a missile launch. Then they start tracking where it is. Is this on the schedule? Is this not on the schedule? And then they start seeing where this trajectory might be. Now, if they see like a bunch go up, yeah, it's a full-on panic. But the problem is the government's like everywhere. I mean, you've got to get your president, you got to get the Congress, all this stuff. The chances of them rounding up everyone and getting them into those bunkers in 30 minutes, slim. Slim, to put it mildly. I mean, some of the few people I think are actually going to get there are going to be the president or the vice president and some of the people who happen to be on Capitol Hill at the time. But all this like state capitals and all this other stuff, shoot, they may get the alert when they've only got 10, 15 minutes left, exactly where they're going. Because on the target map for these things is capital. They're gonna hit every state capital, every major city, every city of industry. I mean, there's FEMA target projection maps that have come out in the early 90s, and they've got some updates from like 2008 that have been leaked onto the internet. And they're really interesting to look at. And it makes sense of what they're doing. They're trying to destroy all abilities for the government to effectively do its job. But when you think about it, the number of government people that will be caught out in the mess with all of us is going to be staggeringly high. The number of people who are going to be actually underground, protected and all that, are going to be like the people manning NORAD, the stuff already there that are on there all the time. So the people that are continuity of government operations, it's going to be a scattered effort. It's going to be very low.
I agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, the COOP continuity of operations plan is for those in DC area, like in the Freedom Center and stuff, they drill that every 3 months. And they drill it in the wintertime too, because hey, it happens, in the wintertime as well. So, but they're trying to get their stuff when the drill starts till they have the majority of their people that are supposed to go to Mount Weather at Mount Weather. They're trying to get it under 25 minutes.
And that's hard. That's
the last time they did it was 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And in the wintertime, if the roads are bad, it's an hour and a half.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a ridiculous thing to try to do. And so if you think about it, though, because of what they're trying to do for continuity of operations of the government, their ability to send out that emergency action message that's going to hit all our TVs saying nuclear missiles inbound, seek shelter, we're not going to get it till like the last 5, maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because they're going to try to keep the roads clear as long as possible to get as many people as they can.
Yeah.
I know that they got it set up so that the president and vice president are in a bunker within 20 minutes.
Depends
where they're at.
Yeah. I mean, what if like Trump's out at Mar-a-Lago out there, on his golf course and stuff, it suddenly hits off. Okay, we run off to Marine One. We get into the plane. We start going on the chopper. I mean, the best thing for them actually is going to go to Air Force One, get up in the air, and continue operations from the air instead of in the bunker because they're never going to make it in time.
Actually, their best plan is actually to head out over water, away from the continental U.S., away from any electromagnetic pulses from any nuclear devices.
Yeah, and like Air Force One is pretty neat because they can be refueled midair and stuff like that. So as long as we can keep fuel in there, they can continue operation and command from the plane. But on a war like that, they're going to have to deal with attacks from the air and everything else. I mean, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I went down the worst case scenario, but my point was saying is when you start talking about the government's got a secret plan for only them to survive, they don't care about you.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is none of our money is covering like it should for everyone else. And the government doesn't even have enough to even get them put away. Very few are going to make it.
Well, I was watching a special and they were saying that they haven't covered infrastructure in our country in 2 decades. So
our infrastructure is a disaster.
Yeah, they haven't covered any of it for 2 decades. So even if something big did happen, the infrastructure in such bad shape, it's going to be hard for even the impotent people to get put away to the right spot. That's how I look at it. I mean,
take a look at 9/11.
We're going to be.
They activated the continuity of government plan, and they didn't know who the heck was in charge. It was a freaking cluster show in a lot of spots. It was a disaster in areas. It's like, wait, we got to do something? What the heck are we supposed to do?
Actually, as far as continuity of operation plan for the government at 9/11 time it was mainly for the military, had the continuity of operations. The actual government itself had squat in planning. In fact, the federal government was so far behind California, believe it or not. California had a better plan up that they went and took California's plan, changed California to national in the plan, and then started making other little tweaks in it. They basically stole California's plan to make it the national plan after 9/11. But there's some comments out here in the side chat. And guys, I'm surprised that you guys out there making these comments about FEMA have drunk Hillary Clinton's tainted Kool-Aid. The myth of FEMA camps is a rumor put out by the far left to get the right to do stupid stuff. Think about it. I used to work for Homeland Security. FEMA has no money to set up camps. All right. Right now, FEMA's broke because of all the money they spent down Puerto Rico way. Not Puerto Rico?
Somewhere down
Puerto Rico
there.
and Florida.
Yeah. So, they're broke. There have never been plans to set up massive FEMA camps to move the population of the United States into. That's a myth put out by the far left to get the far right to do stupid stuff.
Well, the other thing, you brought up Puerto Rico. That's a great example of how bad our infrastructure is as a country. So Puerto Rico's in bad shape, yeah. But when it came in and took the power grid out, so we had the whole infrastructure of the U.S. was still operating, and it still took 9 months to get that place mostly operational. We had a national level crisis where our power grid was down. It's going to be years and years,
Decades.
like decades.
That's why I said it's been decades since we worked on our infrastructure. So if we have a big thing like you say, Puerto Rico, we're just tits up.
Well, I mean that's the real big thing. Is if they had some of the things that could knock out the power grid from the obvious point is they could do a cyber attack. That is very possible. In fact, the FBI and them are absolutely certain that nation state actors have been putting bad stuff in places to do it with. And they've been going after a lot of the companies to get their stuff better secured. But a cyber attack could do it. And the key thing they'd be after is to destroy the high voltage transformers. You take those things out, we are screwed because they take 18 to 2 years to manufacture and they're custom per spot. And worldwide supply right now is like 120% of demand capacity. And if we replace all the thousands of them we have in the U.S., ooh, that'd be bad.
And we no longer make them in the U.S.
Actually, they're trying to rebuild a new facility. They want to finally get one back here.
Yeah, try. Right now, it's everything's built overseas.
As far as I know, it's India and China that make them right now.
Yeah.
And I believe that was talked about in one of the critical infrastructure reports when they were talking about that. But yeah, you take those out. So cyber attack, obviously an EMP could do it. Then of course there's other things is like physical damage. You can go get those guys shooting them with guns. I mean, they could definitely do that, or build an improvised explosive device. All you need to do is take out like 10 of them and you take out the entire grid. There was actually a project called Operation Grid Strike, and they used open source materials all across the internet to find out if enough material was on the internet to tell you what to take out the entire grid in the U.S. And yeah, they found out it was all out there and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, some of the thing is they can take down the grid especially back east, without explosives or cyber attack, all they need is a good-sized truck and cables, and go out and start pulling down transmission towers.
Yeah, there you go.
They hit the right towers, they're going to cause a domino effect. Of surges, and that's going to blow transformers.
Now, one of the other ones I read that was interesting was so we have all this Internet of Things crud. Everyone's trying to make everything smart, like even have your coffee maker plugged into the internet, which I think is just retarded. But imagine if you had every single microwave, every single coffee maker get a piece of malware, and they all turn on and off in a harmonic frequency, and so they end up causing the grid to overload in areas. You know, you do it that way, you wouldn't even have to attack the power stations, and stuff. And then, of course, EMP weapons can do it. And we have a solar storm EMP, but I'll get to that one in a second. But then there's also the good old nuclear war. And so we could really have an issue with the stuff. But the solar storm one's really nasty in my mind. That one, we know it's going to happen again. And pretty much no country on the planet, there's only one country that's hardened their grid, but we're not one of them. I think it's Norway. I think Norway is the one that took effort to harden their grid. But a solar storm EMP, depending on how big it is, could take out everything worldwide, depending on how big we're dealing with here.
And depending on the time of year it hits, if it were to hit in summertime for us, where we're tilted towards the sun, the northern hemispheres, both in America and in Europe, are going to get nailed extremely hard. It happened like it were to happen like in another 5 days here on the winter solstice, the longest day of the year. I mean, the shortest day of the year. The upper portion of the planets in the shadow all the time, they would be protected, but the rest of us, not so much.
Well, it depends on that, is because you got two things that affect it. One is the charged particles that interact with the atmosphere. The other thing is it fluxes the Earth's magnetic field because it pushes on it so hard. So that forms part of the E3 pulse. And if it's pushed really, really far, and then when it comes back, that's the problem that you can have, is because a moving magnetic field through wire creates amperages and currents, right? So even if you're not facing it, if the Earth's magnetic field is moved far enough, when it comes back, it can still induce massive currents and bust things out.
Oh yeah, it's like I just lost the thought of it. The Cambian effect?
Compton effect. Compton radiation.
Right. The telegraph wires were picking up the
current.
You
mean the Carrington event? The Carrington event.
Yeah, the Carrington event. Yeah. We're picking up the telegraph wires, are picking up the voltage, and the telegraph stations some were just bursting into flames, others were exploding because so much hit the their little lead acid battery thing they had, just blowing apart.
Well, the wires got so hard they melted and attached to different poles too.
Yeah, started poles on fire, started grass fires, started building fires. The operators were getting shocked. So, what was that, Anthony?
That was my pup. She decided to make a really loud yawn and then shake her ears, and now she's dreaming. And her tail wagging. So,
yeah.
And the Carrington event is super interesting to read about. So they don't know how big it was. We can just guess based on the effects and the observed things. Is like the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis, was visible all the way down to Cuba, and it was so bright, people got up thinking the sun was rising to get to go to work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy when you think about that. That's huge. So they think it was around an X50 to an X100 class flare. And we've actually had some really close calls. There was one in 2012 around Halloween that missed us just by 2 weeks. And there was another one, I think, in 2003 that came really close. And we know that it's going to happen again. And there's actually, it looks like as they look into it, evidence in the geological record that an X1000 seems to hit every 500 years and an X100 around every 100. So we're due.
Yeah. And that's those hitting the Earth, not just them occurring and going off in the other direction.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, some people are wondering, you said that you missed this by 2 weeks. That's because of the orbit of the Earth around the sun in the direction that flare went out at.
Right, because when the flare goes off, it's not the flare that's the problem. It's all those charged particles that come out of the sun that impact us. So the light from the flare travels at the speed of light, but those charged particles hit us around 48 hours after. Depends on if they're moving faster or slower, but the average is around 48 hours of travel from the sun to the Earth. And so that's why there is a time difference. Now, one of the things is we have satellites in the out there observing the sun. So when they see these go off, they can see that something went off. But to know how bad it is, we won't know till about the last hour from when it impacts a lot of these satellites and stuff. And then by that point, you've got very little time to prepare to make any changes.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah, the solar flares and the particles are probably the most likely scenario to cause an EMP event.
Yeah, I put those in my most likely one. In terms of because that's why I prep, is I'm pretty certain we're going to face an ugly disaster sometime in my lifetime. The biggest man-made one I see happening to the U.S. is financial collapse, because they don't seem to get this spending under control. And then for natural, solar EMP is my number one too. So those are the two. But we each have our own and stuff like that. But I don't pigeonhole myself into that. I keep stocking stuff up for anything, because it could be a hurricane, could be earthquake, could be a gas pipeline explosion. Who knows?
Can be anything out, basically.
Yeah. Steve said that he read somewhere that a CME could reach here in 13 minutes.
The light from the sun is around 8 minutes. I don't know of any charged particles that'd be moving that fast.
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
Yeah,
see if you can dig up the link, Steve. I'd love to read it.
Yeah, that's I think that 13 minutes is the time from it happens to us realizing, oh, it happened. By the time the cut gets here, they analyze it and realize, oh, we just had a CME. We need to pay more attention. That may take 13 minutes.
Yeah, the stuff. Oh, sorry, guys.
We've gone way over here.
Oh, yeah.
I even got a late start.
So that's why we went over, because you had a late start.
That's why I let it go over. It's because I got a late start. But I need to get out of here. I got things I got to get done.
Okay. Well, have a good night, everyone.
Thanks for coming by, Reed.
Yeah, right. I know sometimes work is weird.
I'll send you a link next week. Maybe you can just pop in when you're not busy.
Okay, that can work.
All righty. Everybody else, tell everybody goodbye.
See you guys later.
See if I can do this right.